Hello everybody, it's Robbie here, and I just wanted to come to you today to talk about how to homeschool cheaply, like really cheaply. And I'm not going to just focus on online free resources. Honestly, if you go that route, it can actually be quite expensive because you have to print out so many materials. And at one point, I remember my husband was out of a job and we were homeschooling and I needed to print out some stuff, and I was in a total panic because the toner had was running out on my laser printer. I have an ancient laser printer. I now have a really nice color laser printer, but we also have this ancient laser printer, and it was a fantastic printer, but it cost me I want to say $70 to get a toner cartridge at that time. And I believe now they sell the generic ones, off-brand ones, really cheap. But at the time, it was going to be $70, and we didn't have it. And I didn't know what I was going to do. And so I don't want to focus on materials that require that you have a really good printer and that you use a lot of ink or toner. So with that said, let me get into my little list here. If I look down, it's because I've got some notes here. So the first thing I want to mention is that you really need to have a wish list. Okay, so first off, there's a saying in business circles that you can pick two of the three of the following. And you can either say good, you can either get good, fast, or cheap. And you get to pick two. So if you want to go cheap and you want it to be good, it's not going to be fast. It's going to take some time and it's going to take some research. If you want it to be cheap and you want it to be fast, then your options are pretty much not going to be the greatest. So I find that philosophy works in just about anything you do. Keep that in mind. It's going to take some research and it's going to take some time, usually. Now, you could get lucky and get everything you need really quickly, but just plan for the fact that it's going to take more time, it's going to take more research, and if you get lucky and you get the mother load in one shot, then you've exceeded all of your expectations, and that'll just be icing on the cake. Okay, so do some research, kind of figure out what it is you want. And if you're new to homeschooling, take some time to work with your kids outside of curriculum, because you want to figure out what their learning style is. You want to figure out if they're more visual, if they're more auditory, if they are more hands-on and kinesthetic, or tactile. And so they usually need some time to sort of unwind from the whole structured school that happens day in and day out. It's a time that they need to unwind. They kind of a lot of times resent the fact that their home has now become their school, because it's always been compartmentalized before. You know, they go to school, they do school, they come home, and they do whatever they want. And you're mom, you're not teacher. So it takes a little bit of time to just kind of get through that initial transition. So don't think that immediately upon homeschooling for the first time that you need to get a curriculum. But if you're at that point where you're like, okay, we need curriculum, but I'm on a serious budget and I don't want to spend a lot of money, or maybe this is temporary and you just don't want to invest a lot of money into your curriculum, here are my best tips for doing that. Try to create a wish list. Now, this wish list, going into this, a wish list may actually put you in a box. So make a wish list, but have an open mind at the same time. Because when you're really on a budget, it's going to be harder to find exactly what you want. So make a wish list, but then have an open mind, right? A little bit of an open mind. Because you can always use something temporarily until you find the great deal on what it is you really want, right? All the curriculum works, all of it. The perfect curriculum is not the criteria that should determine whether or not your homeschooling experience is a success. It just isn't. It all works. We've had curriculum that wasn't a great fit, but we were able to make it through the year and then just switch for the next year. You just tweak it, okay, to make it fit your needs until you can get what you really want. But the catch to that is if you have too much of an open mind, then you'll end up with a bunch of stuff that you won't use. And that's the other side of that coin. So a little bit of an open mind, but with a wish list, okay? So do your research, kind of find out what you really want, and then go into this with a little bit of an open mind, okay? Now, try to save funds ahead of time, okay? Or at least budget a little bit here and there, because what's probably going to happen is you're going to get this all trickling in over time. You have plenty of time, especially if you're starting to plan for next year right now. You've got some time, right? So save a little every week, do whatever you need to do to put aside the funds so that when you do run across the deal on something that you want, you can snap it up and you won't have to stress out about the fact that you're going to miss out on a really good deal, okay? The first thing you want to check on is thrift stores. Thrift stores. People get curriculum that they don't use, or they'll have partial pieces to curriculum that they don't need anymore, and rather than holding on to it or trying to sell it and they don't want to mess with it, they'll donate it. So the trick to this, though, is that you have to check them often, okay? So try to find the thrift stores. If you're not a thrifter, find the thrift stores that are in your area and try to plan outings when you're going to be running other errands, or maybe on Saturday when you have somebody watching your kids and you can go in peace and really take the time to look. It's very hit or miss, obviously, but it's a great place to get curriculum. You might find partially used curriculum or workbooks. Please do not just pass these by. You know, everybody wants beautiful, nice, new, pristine curriculum to work with, but, you know, a week in, it's not going to be nice, new, and pristine anymore, right? So most of the time, unless it's a core curriculum item, you're not going to get through the workbook in a year. And usually they are leveled. So you don't want to just typically use a workbook more than a couple of years because your student is going to outgrow it. So don't be afraid of partially used curriculum. Even a half-used book can be very valuable. For instance, Evan Moore books, I run into those a lot. And so if they're partially used, it's not that big a deal because most of those I use as supplements. So I'm probably not going to complete one in a year anyway. So don't feel like just because it's partially used that it can't be valuable, especially if it's a curriculum that you really are interested in. A lot of times the consumable portions will be partially filled out, and at least you can get an idea if you want to use it or not. If they're in pencil, you can erase them. If they're too much of it is used, you can at least take it home and really look at it, and you can buy the consumable portion of the curriculum from the vendor or from Rainbow Resource or from wherever. But you might be able to get the teacher materials like really, really cheap. So don't be afraid of partially used curriculum. Also, you can find a ton of those all-in-one workbooks like Brain Quest, and then there's this other one that you can get at Walmart that's like an all-in-one workbook that goes through like grade 3 or something. You'll find a lot of those at the thrift store. And so those can be a great place to start until you actually get all the materials that you really want. You have something to work from, right? Also, you may find that you don't find consumables, but you'll find a part of some curriculum that you need. So, for instance, you might find the teacher manual to a certain curriculum that you're interested in. And so, again, nabbing those materials there will save you a lot of money. Then all you have to buy is the consumable item for the curriculum. The other option, and this is really good with thrift stores too, is teaching from living books. So, for instance, history and science can be taught without a curriculum at all. You can use interest-based learning with books. So you'll find tons of like historical novels and biographies on like Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin and just all the Abraham Lincoln. You know, you'll find a ton of those kinds of things at thrift stores. You'll find books on science, you know, on weather, on space, on the human body, on all kinds of stuff. So you don't have to teach from a curriculum. You can teach from living books. Or in science, you'd just be informational text, right? The key to thrift store shopping, though, is being patient and to check often, because it could be a total bust. Also, the best time to go is on Tuesdays, like Mondays or Tuesdays. Tuesdays seem to do better for me in our area, but you might, find that it's a little bit different in your area. But people drop off all their stuff on the weekends, and they have to have time to tag and process all of that stuff and then get it all on the floor. And so the freshest stock is usually going to be on a Monday or a Tuesday. What else? Oh, games. You will find a ton of educational games at the thrift store. Again, you might have to check often, but you'll find like homophones and word matching and sorting and puzzles and logic games and science kits and just all kinds of things like that. So you can teach from those kinds of resources too. So the thrift store can be a really valuable resource when it comes to homeschooling your kids. The next one I want to talk about is your local homeschool groups and sales. So make sure you join up with the Facebook groups that are in your area for homeschooling. A lot of times they'll put curriculum up for sale when they have them, depending upon what their rules are. Also, the local homeschool groups will put on curriculum sales. And those are a very, very valuable resource when it comes to getting curricula. So again, go with your wish list, but try not to be so rigid that you're not open to other things, because you can take the time to really thumb through things and look at things while you're there. And my tip for that is to go early. If you really want to find exactly what you're looking for, you're more apt to do that if you go when they open. And then you've scoured the event. If you see something that you're semi-interested in, or the price is too high, or you're just not quite sure, leave and then come back at the end, because these moms do not want to take this stuff home. Most of them do not want to take this stuff home, and they are willing to wheel and deal, and sometimes they're willing to just give you stuff. I sat there and watched a vendor give this mom, she was brand new to homeschooling, she was a former school teacher, she recognized all these materials because the seller was also a former school teacher, and she just was like, here, take it, and she handed her a big stack of materials this high. And I've been personally, I don't want to take this home, I'll give it to you for $5, and it's like a $50 curriculum used. And so I've had all kinds of stuff like that. Homeschool families are really, really generous. And if you do end up getting materials that you don't use, then pass them on. If you received freely, then you feel more comfortable then at that point just blessing somebody else with that material. The next resource is Facebook Marketplace. A lot of times you will find people, again, just trying to unload materials that they no longer need, and I find that I've gotten some pretty good deals on Facebook Marketplace for some curricula. The next one is your Facebook homeschool selling pages. Homeschool Curriculum Marketplace, I think, is one. There's a whole bunch of homeschool buy and sell. There's all kinds of buy and sell groups on Facebook. The caveat there is that you have to pay shipping, but because it's curricula, they can ship medium mail, which is the cheapest way to ship. And these families are, used to the shipping rates, and they will calculate pretty much exact shipping based on your zip code. And so you're not paying an excessive amount for shipping, but that is the caveat there. Now, one thing is, though, anything you do on Facebook, you have to have a PayPal account. So if you don't have a PayPal account, or you're not willing to get one, then that would not be an option for you. Most sellers, I shouldn't say all, but most sellers won't take a personal check, and most do not want to have to wait for a money order, because they will usually have a waiting list of people who want the curriculum they're selling. And so if they have to wait for you to send that and then they don't ever get it, then they could lose out on the sale, because the people in line will find it someplace else. The other caveat to the Facebook groups is that if it's a popular item, it's going to go really fast. You have to catch it when it first gets listed, because during this time of year when people are trying to unload the curriculum that they have so they can have the funds to buy what they want, it all moves really fast. So that's the other issue with the Facebook groups, is that you have to be really quick. The next option is friends that you know that are homeschooling. If you're in a homeschool group and you're looking for a curriculum, put it out there. Just say, does anybody have this? Is anybody willing to unload this? Does anybody know of a place where I can get this? Whatever. I've gotten some wonderful deals from just people I know who've been selling things or just trying to get rid of something. I've gotten a lot of free stuff that way too, from people who are just like, I'm just getting ready to donate this. Do you want any of it? So that's another way to get some really good resources for your homeschool library. eBay's another one. You have to have a PayPal account for that one though. So if you don't have one, don't want one, then that won't work for you. But next to Facebook Marketplace, I find that eBay typically has the best prices, and I've gotten some really good deals on eBay. You're going to have everything from ridiculously high prices on things to really low prices on things. But again, if you're willing to get a partially used curricula, then you're going to get a lot better deal than if you're wanting something that's brand new. Consumable products are harder to find, but you can definitely find them, especially if you're willing to take something that's partially used. eBay has several options for buying. You have buy it now options. If they list it with a buy it now, it means you can just buy it at whatever price they list it. Be sure to look at their shipping rates. Sometimes they jack up the shipping rates. They put their buy it nows cheap and they jack up the shipping rates to compensate, but they want to be top. They want to get the top of the list, and usually it sorts by price. So if they're requiring a bid on something and you see that it's getting close to the end of the auction and they haven't got a bid, you can set up a sniping account. So Hammer Snipe is who I use. It's free. It's a free account. I get X number of free snipes per month. I never go over that because I don't buy that much stuff on eBay. So you just put in the auction number into that and put the price that you're willing to pay. If you know that you have a budget for X number of dollars and you're not willing to go over that, then don't get caught up in a bidding war. Just put in the price that you're willing to pay. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. And then that way you may, and I've gotten a lot of really good deals that way. The other option is to make an offer. So sometimes sometimes the seller will put an item up for sale or bid with a buy it now or even a bid, and then they'll have make offer on there. So you can click on that button and you can make them an offer. So if you decide to make an offer, you click on that button and you can make an offer for whatever you want. They either can accept it, reject it, or make a counter offer. And so that's another way to get an item at a really good deal. If you see something that's at the beginning of the auction, let's say they're taking bids, or maybe even it's a buy it now, but you want to try to maybe find it cheaper, but you don't want to forget about it, you can watch it. So if you put it in your watch list and you just say you want to watch it, then when they may see that you're watching it and give you an offer. And if they want it to sell quickly, they may actually make you an offer because you put it in their watch list. So it is worth doing that. I've had that happen a number of times. Okay, so let's talk about online resources that you would have to print. So there are a massive amount of online resources for you. Easy Peasy is a complete curriculum from K through 12. It's completely free. You have Ambleside Online, which is a Charlotte Mason type curricula that's all free. You have Discovery K-12, which is free for a student. It's not free if you want a teacher account. So if you're comfortable with not having access to the answer keys and that sort of thing, or being able to do the scheduling, I can't honestly remember what all the teacher account allows you to do, but if you take a look at it, if you're comfortable with using it without having a teacher account, it would be completely free. There are all kinds of worksheets. If you just did a search for homeschool worksheets, free homeschool worksheets. You'll find a number of sites that have a lot of, free worksheets that you can download. YouTube is another very valuable resource for free education. You can do all kinds of, searches for all kinds of things, from math songs to art lessons, history lessons, documentaries. There's a vast array of information on YouTube that you can use for homeschooling. Your library, of course, is another option. Some libraries even have curricula that you can check out, and you cannot write in them, but you can use them, and you check them out for, I think, the entire season. I can't remember how it works. There's one of the libraries that I've been to in Illinois did that, and I can't utilize their system because I don't live in Illinois, but I know they have the curricula available, and every year they liquidate what they're not using anymore, and so I've been to their sales. You can check with your library to see if they have any homeschool curricula that they're willing to check out, and even if they don't, they might have the ability to get it for you. So your library is definitely a resource to check out. And of course, books galore. Books and documentaries and videos and series and all kinds of stuff there. Some libraries even have access to teaching videos. Our library has a series of teaching videos. We haven't utilized them, but they're just educational resources that you can utilize. There are subscription services that allow you to access a vast array of teaching resources. Varsity Tutors is one of those. Skillshare is one. Evan Moore has a subscription service where you can access all of the books that they have in their library and just print out the units that you want. You also have the ability to project the units to your computer screen or to a television if you have an HDMI cable where you can do that. And then that way you don't have to print everything off. Schoolhouse Teachers is a subscription service that would give you access to all of their classes for your entire family. Schoolhouse Teachers actually has classes, and then there's usually some printable materials that go with the class. Time for Learning is another one that's really popular. Again, an all-in-one, all-subject subscription service where you get video instruction, and then most of the quizzes and things are online, but they do have some printable material. So if you have a good internet connection, keep in mind that's something you would need if you're going to do video-based instruction, but that's one that's really popular. Kahn Academy is actually free. Those are really, really well done. I've only used Khan Academy via search when I need a specific topic that I need help with instruction on, because in some cases I've needed to access the Khan Academy, especially when I was dealing with my high schoolers and teaching like geometry, trigonometry, and having to do that. I was having to refresh my memory on those things, and I went to Khan Academy for clarification on some things, and it was fabulous, really, really well done. I've seen some really good science videos on Khan Academy as well. There's another one that I'm thinking of, and you pay per class, and it might only be $3 here, $5 here, $10 here, whatever. They're real inexpensive, but they're done by teachers on some are broad topics, some are very, very specific topics like maybe Lego classes. I mean, there's all kinds of things. I, for the life of me, cannot remember what it's called. I will have to put it on the screen because it's a really good resource, but I can't think of the name of it right now. It's just, and I've tried to search for it and I'm not finding it, and it will take me all day, and I just figure I could just do this in my editing phase. If you're finding that you don't want to mess with trying to search out a curriculum and you have a high-speed internet connection and you're okay with online learning, I highly recommend Reading Eggs and Math Seeds. So you got your language arts and your, well, in the early years it's going to be strictly phonics and reading. And then when they get through the phonics and reading, through about second grade level, it'll go into a pretty full language arts course. They'll cover spelling, dictionary skills, reading, comprehension, all of that stuff in their Reading Express portion, and then Math Seeds is the subscription for their math, and it's a combined subscription, so you get access to all three. There's also a preschool level program now, and I can't remember what it's called. I've got a video where I review all of that, and I'll put it down below. And I'll link anything I can down below too, just for easy access. Anything that I've mentioned here, if I have a review on something, I'll put it below as well. MobyMax is another one that is free. I think if you have a student, if you want a teacher account, you'd have to pay for a subscription to MobyMax, but it's a good free resource. Xtra Math is a good free resource especially for math facts. And again, there wouldn't be any need for printing, and it's not a full curriculum, but IXL is another one that's highly recommended. BrainPOP is another one that's a paid subscription, but you can get access to all of their courses. They have science, history. You'd get a full curriculum if you went through BrainPOP. Generation Genius is a subscription service for science, but they're also getting ready to launch a math. There's a lot, and I'm sure I'm just scratching the surface. But again, the time, you're just gonna have to take some time and investigate to see what's available, what you're interested in, what works for you, and then also, whether or not it's going to be a good fit. In some cases, it's easier just to do a subscription, and again, make that either supplemental to the other materials that you brought in or you bring in, or to give you something to start with until you decide what you're going to do as far as curriculum goes. And then keep in mind, and I've mentioned this already, but like if you find that you're wanting to print out a lot of materials, you can always print to PDF. Usually when you go into your print dialog box and you select the drop down for the printers, you can see print to PDF. If you saved it or print to PDF, then you can save those things, those resources that you like as a PDF, and then you can view them on a tablet or a computer. Or if you have an HDMI cable and a computer, you can then cast whatever's on your screen to a television screen, and you can present the material that way. So you don't need a lot of money, and my point to all of this is that you don't need a lot of money to homeschool. The amount of material available to you for free or low cost is enormous. In fact, it might even be a little overwhelming. But if you just take the time, to do a little research, then you can find everything you need to do whatever you need to do. If you found this helpful, I would love for you to join my channel and subscribe and like the video. If you like this kind of material, this is what I do. I do videos about homeschooling, and I do curriculum reviews and all of that sort of thing. So thank you so much again for coming to my channel today, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.